Well, good morning. This is Leo Cannyn with Barrel Engineering and Inspection, filling in for Katrina Madewell, who's in San Diego, Adam?
San Diego, yes,
San Diego. So I'm here with Adam Talley. Is she doing wine country by chance?
I don't know. Well, San Diego's a little bit south for wine country. She's probably doing the beach and enjoying that gorgeous weather they get year-round.
I just imagine California's one big grape vineyard.
Other than the taxes and how much it costs to live, I'd love to live in San Diego. I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I wish the taxes were lower, then my wine bottles would be cheaper.
Yeah, that's true.
They are doing something called crush out there, which crush is the time of year they harvest the grapes.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a very busy time of the year for the wineries.
That's very interesting. Now, crush, you mean they like stomp on it, right, with their feet? Is that traditional, or is that not what they do anymore?
That's traditional. I learned a lot by going to wine country last year, actually. With wine country, you actually have two different types of bins they use to actually collect the grapes. If you got your Behringers or your large producers, the Sam's Clubs, the Walmarts, when they collect the grapes, they use these huge ton bins. And the crush process actually starts in the bin because the weight of the grapes on the top are smushing the ones on the bottom. Your more expensive wineries, they're going to use a 25-pound basket, and they're going to do hand picking. So there's a huge difference on why your bottles of wine get more expensive and tastier as you go up.
Interesting. I hope my wife's listening, and she's the expert in our house. I'm just the drinker.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm the drinker in my house, too.
Yes. And we have a wonderful guest today.
We do. We have Jeff.
Not to get too far off topic here.
Well, I love today's topic because our motto at Barrel Engineering and Inspection is all about protect what matters most to your family. And Jeff Fichtemaier from Pasco County Sheriff's Office, that's all he does is protect the children.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. So, yeah, we're here with Jeff Fichtemaier, and we're here to talk about cyber, and not the cool kind of cyber that I'm not allowed to talk about on the radio, but the actual scary side of cyber, which is cybercrimes.
Yes, that's what I do. I work in the Cyber Investigations Unit with the Sheriff's Office. I do the investigative side. My main focus is the sharing of child pornography and with the internet crimes against children.
Let's start a little bit with your background, because you just don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to do cyber crimes and specialize in children. So can you walk us through a little bit about the pathway to protecting children?
So I've been with the Sheriff's Office for a little over 19 years. Obviously started out on patrol and moved on to school resource officer. I was for almost 5 years. I learned that I enjoyed working on behalf of the kids. Also went on to be a detective throughout the agency, vice and narcotics, property crimes, major crimes. Early on, though, I learned that I liked the tech side of things, cell phone technology, things like that. So when the cyber crimes aspect started coming into law enforcement, I grew interested in that and aspired to be in the cybercrimes unit.
Now, are you from here? Are you from Pasco County?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And did you always want to be with the Sheriff's Department, or is this just something that happened? I mean, I wanted to
I never grew up thinking I wanted to be a cop, to be honest with you.
Really?
Kind of fell into it. Got out of high school, went in the military, did 7 years in the military, and when I got out, I was actually a golf professional.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
And just would golf with somebody that worked at the Sheriff's Office, and he convinced me to apply there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you're part of the ICAC Investigations, and that's, I understand, a national organization?
Yeah, that stands for Internet Crimes Against Children. We work under that umbrella. There's a Central Florida command, and it's Osceola County runs that, and we get a lot of our funding through there. All our cases come from what's called NCMEC, NCMEC, and that stands for National Crimes, or National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Excuse me. And what happens and how we get our cases? It's basically all your internet service providers are, reporting that they have suspicious activity or something that might be a crime against a child, or the sharing of photos, videos, or something like that to an account, and they'll make a report with them.
So it's like Spectrum, Verizon, those type of people.
All the apps you could think of on your phone.
Oh, okay. Like Facebook will
we get a lot of those. Google, all the things you could think of on your phone, and the apps are changing daily.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize big business was like doing that, like coming back to you guys with that type of information. I think that's amazing.
Oh yeah. And one thing we like to point out is, a lot of times I go to the schools, I go to, talk to parents, and their biggest question is how to keep your kids safe online. Mm-hmm. The NECMEC, I'll keep calling it the National Center for Mission Exploited Children. NECMEC, the tips we like to talk about just to make sure parents are aware that they've gone up 10 million in the last 2 years. So we went from, I think 2016 they were saying had about 8 million tips, and now as of this year I think we're up to 18 million. And what that is, you have better reporting, more apps out there, more people online, sharing, and kids using the phones and things like that, and just a lot more users. So I think it's a combination of a lot of different things.
Now, do you think more things are happening, or do you think it's just we're more aware of the things that are happening?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I think that it's more of it's happening. It's easier to use, but also the reporting is getting better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you go to these schools and you're talking with children about how to keep themselves safe, not to use certain things. I mean, what do you tell, and how young do you start talking to children?
The youngest victims I've seen is generally around 5 to 7.
Wow. So kindergarten to second grade.
Yeah, so I don't like to say there's any level that you need to start being safe. They always should try to be safe.
Are they giving 6-year-olds phones?
Apparently, yeah. Or they're using them, or I've had a couple cases where I think one of my first cases I ever worked in the unit when I came in, I think was a 7-year-old that was exploited online. And what they're doing is, the trends I'm seeing are more like you have these apps that the kids are using. Okay, so like Live Me, where they can stream. We've seen the Live Me. I think that's changed now, that app, and it's very difficult to keep up with the apps because they're constantly changing. So if I have a case with an app, I'll instantly try to download it and use it and get familiar with it. And I really recommend parents do that also. If they have kids using apps, be familiar with those apps. So these kids will go on these apps and stream live, and if you have a pedophile or somebody that is interested in set level or age of a child, they're going to seek out those apps that those kids are using and then try to communicate with them, and then they pull them onto another app that's more private, and then they get them to do things online. And I've had suspect phones or suspect computers that we've gained access to through a search warrant or something like that, where we've literally seen hundreds of videos of kids going into a bathroom and taking off their clothes for them. So it's something that parents need to be aware of. It's out there, and don't ignore it. Be upfront with it.
Well, we just had an 11-year-old boy take his brother's car in South Carolina, drive 200 miles to meet somebody. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that story, but it just broke this week.
Yeah, we've worked, a couple cases where they've traveled, or they try to message them to travel. It's out there. I recently went to a school that was for online chatting, and basically I have multiple accounts where all of them I'm a kid. I have to keep a Excel spreadsheet just with all my passwords and just to keep up with them because I have so many of them. But just for a test, I threw up an ad, and my partner that was in the class threw up an ad that I was 14 and he was, a child online too. And I think the first night we had over 30 responses in the Tampa Bay area to come meet us. Yeah.
Wow. So we're coming up. That music in the background means we're coming up on our first break. It's a very serious subject here on Tampa Home Talk, but it is all about keeping your family safe.
Which is very important.
I'm going to give the off-air number out, 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. Really don't have anything for you to text in.
But if you do have questions,
if you do have questions, and
we'd like to connect you to help keep your kids safe.
yeah, we'd definitely like to connect you to help keep your kids safe. We'll be right back after the break.
And welcome back to Tampa Home Talk. This is Adam Talley with Talley Insurance, joined by Leo Cannyn of Barrel Project Engineering and Inspections. And today we have Detective Fichtemaier with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, and we're talking about cybercrimes today.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think since we don't have any children, or we shouldn't have any children listening because they're either getting ready for school, in school, and our target audience is wealth and real estate. So unless you're like a super smart kid, in which case you are safe.
We did have that girl that writes books come on here that one time, and she listens on her way to school.
Super smart.
She's
super smart children.
Incredibly
So let's
smarter
talk
than
more
us.
about parents. What can parents do? Because I think a lot of this responsibility should fall back on the parents to keep children safe. So let's just take, I have a phone. Is there like and I know nothing because I have no children, so there's like, is there child mode on these phones, certain locks that go onto the phones? What can parents be putting on this? This is a nice phone, by the way, Adam.
Thank you.
Is it Pixel?
Pixel.
It is a Pixel.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
So what can parents be doing to instill rules, boundaries, and limitations, Cesar Milan, on their children?
Well, that's a good question. I think that the easiest thing to do is a lot of parents out there that I've talked to are, well, my son or daughter has a phone, or I pay for the service, but they have a lock code on it, or they won't let me see it. Well, you're the parent. You're paying the bill. You have the ability to check this stuff. Keep up to date with what they're doing online. Both operating systems, whether it's iPhone or Android, have apps that you could use as a parent to track what your kids are doing on there. That's up to you to put that on there and be proactive. Know what they're doing online. Know what apps they're using. Ask to see their phone every once in a while. You know, my son's an adult. He came up through high school when cell phones were getting popular, but he still got a phone, I think, in 9th or 10th grade. And every once in a while, I'd do a inspection on it. You know, it was, hey, let me see your phone. And if they don't like that, don't want to participate in it, cancel their service.
You know, there's another thing that the phone companies do now. They really push for the paperless bill. They don't want to be able to, have to mail you something. And I found out that there'd be a problem because when you have a paper bill, you really have a record of all those phone numbers, the data usage, and so on and so forth, that you can walk into your kids and say, hey, whose number is this? What is this? What is that? Otherwise, you don't know any of that because it's not showing up on the phone on your records.
Yeah, there's what I would recommend is there's several apps that you can get to keep track of what they're doing online, and I think you can set the parameters on them also to how much you keep track of. One of the simple things just on the iPhone is the Find My iPhone, something like that. Like you could see where they're at and things like that. So, but just knowing what apps they're using. If you're not familiar with the app, it really is as simple as just Googling the app. You can read about the app, who the manufacturer is, or who's producing it, or who's creating it, and what it's supposed to do, and things like that. So there's a lot of apps that the kids are using, obviously, to hide things. They have the most famous one that I could think of is the old calculator, where it looks like a calculator, it works like a calculator, but you put a specific number in it, and then you go to all their hidden photos that you can't see as a parent.
Really?
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either.
That one's been around a long time, and there's ones that are way more sophisticated than that. So,
are there any, other than this calculator app that both Leo and I are oblivious to, are there any other apps that parents out there should be aware of that they can do some
I think for the
things
younger kids, like I said, I've had victims as young as 6 or 7 that I've dealt with. I think the biggest thing is those live streaming apps. Parents need to be aware of what apps they're using as far as streaming, because most of those apps, although the kids are using that and they're getting points and they're doing these things online to gain points, they still have the ability, people have the ability to communicate with them. And like I said, these you might have a pedophile that targets 7 or 8 year olds. So he's going to go on these apps that are 7 or 8 years old. Basically, they're going to look for those kids and then try to bring it to another texting app or something that's private, and pull them away from like maybe mom and dad. Hey, go to the bedroom, go to the bathroom or whatever. Let's talk there. I could give you more points or something like that. And that's kind of the things that I've seen. And just so be aware if your kids are chatting with people online, know who they're chatting with. When I go into the schools, and Facebook obviously is the one all us parents know about. Facebook with the kids is hardly used. They're using Instagram and Twitter and other apps, Snapchat. Snapchat is another app to be aware of. Snapchat was made specifically to hide your photos or to destroy the photos. I mean, it's pretty rampant out there with the photo sharing on Snapchat. So that's something they need to use. But it's also one of the most popular texting apps now with the kids. They use it to chat.
That's crazy. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, like, the only thing we were told not to do is don't go into any chat rooms. Like, that was, like, the thing. Don't go into any chat rooms, and you're pretty much safe if you're not in a chat room other than that. Like,
what age range are you finding to be the biggest problem with kids, either male or female?
I honestly, the teenagers are obviously more tech savvy than most of their parents. We deal with teenagers and the sending of pictures. It's called sexting. That's the term used now. But a lot of what I deal with is more younger kids that I see. It's they're
preteens.
Preteen, yeah, as victims or like I said, I've. When we bring in a device that is a suspect device or something like that, and I get a search warrant for it or something, and I'm looking through it, a lot of times what I'm seeing trend up a little bit more is these apps where they're streaming online. And I don't think one comes to mind that I worked recently, and I don't remember seeing any kids over 12, 13. I mean, it was younger kids. One of the videos I saw was actually the kids dancing in the living room, and mom was in the back doing laundry. So I don't think she had any idea these kids were live. That's what I'm saying. Just be aware of what they're using, what they're doing, what's going on with their apps.
Now I have a question for you, and you kind of touched on it with the teenagers. Obviously, I mean, by high school, almost every kid has a cell phone now, I'm sure. What sort of issues do you see when it's obviously I think parents also should be aware of teenagers to other teenagers. There could be some problems there too, right? Especially if there's photos or anything else that's shared, correct? Or am I wrong on that?
Yeah,
one?
so when I use the word sexting, that's the term that's been coined for that. So, It's sad to say that, but when we get a teenager's phone, we're almost more surprised not to not see photos, nude photos, than we are if we do. And what we have to do too is if we take in a phone of any juvenile, if it has photos, we have to wipe it before giving it back. Those photos off. We can't give it back with any of those photos. So we have to. One of the things we do before getting it back to the owner is we clean it. But what happens?
Do you delete all photos, or you just
no, just the photos that would be considered underage kids, or nude or something like that.
That could take a while. I mean, like my phone has thousands of photos. I mean, none of.
Yeah, we have programs that we can use and stuff like that. It's not like we're going through the phone and one by one looking at the photos.
AI can pretty much detect the good from the bad, right?
I had a phone I recently looked at where the guy had 2,500 videos. And I put it in a program that I have where I can just scroll through the videos really quick, so I don't have to, subject myself to looking at this content that's on there all day long because I want to limit how much I have to see.
When did you guys get that technology? Because that hasn't always been the case, right? Like I'm sure, probably not that long ago, you had to physically do all the searching yourself, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, but it was, it's kind of
You're watching enough to know that
it used to be a VHS tape or something like that. You'd have to fast forward through, but as the technology's growing, so is the applications for us to discover the stuff, go through the images and things like that. So it's always changing, and that's when I come in and talk about this, or I talk to parents. I usually tell them, hey, listen, the easiest way is just keep kids offline, but that's not practical, because the apps are literally changing daily and weekly, and I constantly have to research an app after I hear about it. And I'm doing this every single day, and I can't keep up with it. So that's the big thing, is just that they keep up with the apps and research what they're doing. Because if the kids find out that, oh, mom and dad, caught me using this app, let's switch to this one. Or let's switch over here. Or let's, bring it to another app. Kick was big for a while, and then there's just an article. Kick things were rampant on Kick with the sharing of child pornography.
We'll have to talk about some of these apps when we come back. We're coming into our next break. Actually, when we come back, let's do a little bit of deep dive into Adam's world. Let's talk about the business of cyber and what you can do for insurance. So let's come back from the break and talk about that. You can always hit us up on our off-air number, 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Tampa Home Talk. This is Adam Talley with Talley Insurance, joined by my counterpart here,
Leo Cannyn with Barrel Engineering and Inspection, and we have a special guest, Jeff Fichtemaier from Pasco County Sheriff's Office, Cyber Children's Investigations Unit.
Yes.
Sounds like a TV show.
It does, but not a fun one necessarily.
I don't know. Law and Order SVU went how many seasons?
I think it's still going.
I think that's the only Law and Order show still on the air.
Law and Order. Hey, that's Dick Wolf had a good. He had a good spot.
I used to laugh back. There was a Family Guy joke back in the height of the Law and Order that there were so many Law and Order spinoffs. His joke on was like there was Elevator Crimes Unit, and it was the two detectives standing in an elevator for one of the Family Guys longer than it needed to be sidebar skits. Because they were just
those do get a little repetitive.
They were just standing there because it's like the long pause, and you think it's going to cut to commercial, and you know it's coming. And I'm like, do they not have another joke to put in there?
Hey, I mean, you got to fill time somehow, right?
Well, Elevator Crimes Unit apparently. So speaking of businesses and crime, let's do a deep dive with Adam really quick on insurance, because businesses. It happened. Here's the story. Let me sidebar before jumping to Adam.
Oh, that's fine. Sidebar. We love
sidebar.
We love it here.
Leo Cannyn sidebar.
Sidebar the sidebar.
So we deal with title companies a lot. Every time we have a title company on the show, they talk about how people are trying to fish with a P. Data, get wires sent to the wrong places. So occasionally we get attachments sent to us with a password on to open the attachment. And I've trained my staff over and over again. If you get a random email from anybody that says open this attachment, don't. Well, one of the times my office manager was really busy and he was flustered, and the admin, one of the phone people, asked, we just got something in, should I open it? And he said yes. And she's like, I can't get it to open. Once I heard that from the other room, I'm like, call IT. You've just downloaded a virus.
Shut down all the computers
Pretty
at that
much.
point, right? Like, what do you do?
Ransomware is just vicious, because you get a ransomware on your server, you can't get to your data.
Exactly.
So what we do as a way to protect our business is our data is backed up twice a day into the cloud somewhere, but each backup is kept completely separate, and there's so many rolling backups before they start deleting. So if we got ransomware, we're only losing 12 hours worth of junk, which in that case...
Nothing can't be redone from 12 hours.
12 hours, because everything should be live. People should still have their hard copies, soft copies on their computer. But, okay, as a business owner, what kind of insurance do I... if there's a risk, there's going to be an insurance policy.
Well, I mean, if there's a risk, there's a rate, right?
There's a rate. I love that. An Adam Talley special.
Hey, you know what? If they want to buy it, we can sell it to them. But when it comes to that, you want a cyber liability policy. I think every business owner needs that. I mean, I would say, depending on your business, you might even want that before you want GL or something else, because you're protecting a lot of people's information, right? Especially if you're somebody that's swiping credit cards or anything else like that. You know, if you're the point of attack, like, you're responsible for all that. And let's say it costs $25,000 a person to, restore somebody's data. You know, if you have, even at 100 clients, that's a lot of money.
And you're my insurance agent. You've never tried to sell me cyber.
Well, we got to get all the basics down first. We're gonna get there, my friend. We got to get you to sign on the dotted line before we do anything else. But
okay, so business owners, what kind of insurance is out there, and what does it actually cover?
So, your cyber liability is going to cover you for all the instances that you just talked about, like employee clicks on the wrong thing and now you have ransomware on all your stuff. Well,
doesn't get your stuff back though.
So I've heard a story before. This is, we go to conferences, everything else like that, and obviously they want us to sell their product, so you hear the extreme stories, but
like the insurance company paying out on a claim?
Well, yeah. So basically what happened is, let's call it your scenario, right? Yeah. But a lot more data than your, home inspectors, engineers. Ransomware, the Russians said, well, we want $50,000 or it will delete it all or whatever. They just wrote him a check and got it done same day. Wow. Yeah, because it gets serious like that. So
and you trust these people to give you back your data.
Well, I don't know about that part, but it's out of your hands. But if you're covered for it, that protects you. Then somebody else is paying out for all those issues, not yourself. And I mean, let's face it, most businesses, you'd be crippled, right? Especially if you're a small business. I mean, you have 12 employees. We got 4 on our side. Something happened to our stuff. I mean, thankfully, everything we do is cloud-based. It's not on our system. It's on somebody else's, and we have redundancies. But you could go out of business.
Yeah, I just make myself low risk. I mean, we don't actually handle credit cards. We use a third party.
Exactly.
We use third party other systems, and like I said, at the end of the day, we're only going to lose up to 12 hours worth of data, and all of that data would be physically on everyone else's machines that aren't on our server. So, because people will be working live files.
Well, and that's what we do. We don't personally, Tally Insurance doesn't accept any credit cards. We don't store any information, anything like that. It's all done through the carriers, and then if it's like a ENS type of situation, which is excess and surplus lines, where we have to collect a physical check, we're doing checks, not, any sort of credit card based thing. Yeah.
So back to the insurance. If you want to get insurance or you're interested in learning more about cyber insurance for your business, you can call or text the word cyber to 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
And those are pretty affordable policies too. I mean, I've seen them start somewhere around $400 a year. So I mean, there's no reason that you shouldn't be protecting yourself that way. And I think I heard Pat said he had a question. I'd love to hear it, Pat. I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Well, yeah. To the deputy again. I mean, there is a thing out there called the dark web.
The dark web.
I saw that in Ralph Rex the Internet. There was a piece of the movie. You had to see the movie.
Yeah, the dark web. How many of these young people, or are you searching on the dark web for a lot of this cyber problem? I mean, do young people know about this, and are they using it? Because I don't know how to get on the dark web.
I knew I was going to get a dark web question.
I just loved it in Wreck-It Ralph. It's kind of fun because you're in what looks like the futuristic version of New York City with all the tall skyscrapers and the flying cars and everything's bright and happy, and the quote-unquote homeless beggars are actually spam and adware and things of that, trying to get you to click on that. And then eventually Ralph, due to, I don't want to spoil plot, ends up in the dark web, and it's like the underbelly. It's like, it's seedy, it's all dark, it's in the sewer system. The virus is a big slug that looks like it's Jabba the Hutt because it's a Disney movie. But that was exciting. I'm like, he found the dark web by clicking on some adware.
Actually, the dark web or the internet is vastly, the majority of the internet is the dark web. I mean, what you see on Google, Facebook, all that stuff, that's the small amount of the internet. So, a lot of the dark web or what as the dark web is legal activity, but that's also where the illegal activity takes place too, because it's harder to find. It's not like you can't just go into Google and search this company on the dark web. It doesn't work that way.
So I can't just type in dark web into Google and
you can type that.
Immediately.
You're probably going to get a Wikipedia page talking about the dark web.
I just thought it just changed like the brightness on my screen.
So if I get you correct, if I go onto Etsy and I buy, or my wife, because she's the Etsy.
I was about to say, how much Etsy are you buying these days?
If my wife goes onto Etsy and buys some curtains, that's the light web. But if I go onto Etsy and buy a kilo of homegrown Coke, that would be considered the dark web, and that's the same website.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
I haven't seen that ad.
I haven't seen
Etsy, by the way.
I obviously know nothing about Etsy other than its crafts.
So I've gone on and played around on some, on the dark web. But I've gone on some sites that sell child porn or something like that, and looked around. And usually, what I do on what I'm involved with the dark web is if I have a suspect that I've arrested or I've talked to that's been sharing child porn, I like to ask them, where did you get it? How did you get it? How did you become involved with sharing it and things like that? Because I want to know where they're getting it and how they do it.
Are they usually forthtelling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so.
Well, they're trying to cut a deal. Haven't you watched enough Dick Wolf shows?
I have. I just, I assumed that was just made for TV so they can get.
Maybe it's just the way I talk to them
and the headlines.
I get what
I do. I watched
know.
all of Mindhunters. It's a great show.
That was a good show.
I mean, in all the shows, it's kind of sidebar again. Sorry, but in all the TV shows, they talk about how vicious other inmates are to these child people. So is there any truth behind the TV about that in the prison system?
Believe it or not, I do think that even the prisoners have a code of conduct, and yes, they don't take to them very lightly.
So that would get them to start squealing and talking.
As far as I know, but that's on the jail end.
Not do that in the first place, and they wouldn't have to worry about it.
Well, then, can't live in that world.
I know.
Speaking of worlds we live in, so I got to ask a couple of questions directly about apps that I use all the time because I'm a very avid video gamer, and that would be Twitch and Discord.
I knew we were going to talk about Twitch at some point.
Those are a couple of the apps that I don't like. Yeah.
Really? So Discord is basically a free bulletin board system. Yeah. You can set up different private rooms. Very easy to set up your own servers in.
No chat rooms. This is from 1995. We know these things.
I have a disc for my Orna account, and basically to be in my guild, you have to join my Discord server room so we can chat because the game itself does not have a chat room. So to join the guild or the group that we play with, 50 people, you have to be active in Discord, which is a chat system. That's one. The other one I like to use all the time, which is solely for the purpose of live streaming, is Twitch. I like to be able to watch people play video games. With Twitch, not only can you watch them actually play the video game, you can hear them do your tutorials to walk you through levels, but there's a lot of micro communities out there where you might have a Twitch account person that has like 20 to 30 followers, and in addition to streaming what they're playing their video games on, a lot of sports stuff, so it's like watching sports, they're also, you get to see them as well. And I would just view these two potential very positive video game community apps that have done wonders to help the video game community. I can just see them being exploited in your realm. You mentioned you hated them.
That's exactly what I was talking about before. Is what they'll do is they'll find the apps that the kids are using. Discord is pretty popular, and they'll start communicating on there. Because listen, there's adults on these apps, legitimate. They're gamers and stuff like that. We get it. But as somebody that if I'm going to seek out a teenager or kid or 12-year-old, 11-year-old, there's also a lot of that age group on there. So you're going to find out who they are, become their friends, communicate with them, and that's what they're using. We've seen Discord more than a couple times come across our desk. So apps like that are what I was talking about before.
I mean, 15 seconds. Disc gets so fast. We'll have to talk more about this when we come back. And we're also going to bring Brian Banner from Pasco County on the air as well.
Corporal Brian Banner, by the way.
Corporal Brian Banner.
Yes.
I see the Yeah, we'll be right back, right after the break. Well, good morning. Welcome back. This is Leo Cannyn with Barrel Engineering and Inspection, joined with Adam Talley from Talley Insurance. We have Detective Jeff Fichtemaier from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office Cyber ICAC Investigations to Protect Your Children. And now we have Corporal Brian Banner to pick on for the last 10 minutes to talk about community engagement. So
I don't want to pick on him.
Please don't.
Oh,
We decided it certainly wasn't a vest, and he definitely never skipped chest day. So you don't want.
He's not wearing a.
Don't be a criminal in Pasco County, because Corporal Banner is going to come down.
I mean, the people that are listening on the
Banner,
radio
like
can't
Banner,
see. He's actually blushing too.
There we go.
He is totally ripped. I mean, you two people, can you please comment in the like?
I just walked in.
If you
the
like
tens of fans that we have are going to really enjoy
make sure you
this.
smash that subscribe button if you're watching on the YouTubes, so you get notifications when our videos come out twice a week. Make sure you hit the like. And I'm saying a whole bunch of stuff you probably don't like.
That's fine. YouTube's
Make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe. But let's continue to pick on Brian Banner a little bit, Corporal, and find out community engagement. So if you would be one of the people we would give tips to, or how do we report cybercrimes?
Are you going to the schools and telling them, don't do this?
A little bit of both. Got started in this probably about a year ago, and kind of trying to keep my hand on the pulse of the community in terms of what's going on out there and how best the sheriff's office can address the needs and concerns of citizens. So, it gets to kind of dibble and dabble in quite a few things. The most recent has been the cybercrime and working with Fichtemaier to kind of get the word out there, making citizens aware and addressing issues and concerns.
So I'm a parent, and I found that my child has been duped. What should I do at that point besides take the phone away?
Can we call you to get an
call the
address
sheriff's
so
office.
we can go beat that person up? Is that how that works? Or
Well, if you feel like you've been a victim of a cybercrime, there's a couple ways. You could either call the sheriff's office and have a deputy respond, and they can complete a report and see what kind of crime it is or how it's classified and send it to us. If a lot of times, because so many of these crimes are new, I've been doing law enforcement now for a little over 19 years, and 10 years ago, most of the stuff I'm dealing with or the laws I'm dealing with didn't exist. I mean, we didn't have, when I started, cell phones and worry about that stuff. So what we've done is, if the deputies aren't sure, we've asked them to say, just classify it as a cyber investigation and then send it to myself or my partner, and then we'll figure it out. So the sheriff's office, you can go on the website NECMEC that I was talking about. NECMEC, I think it's necmec.org. But if you look up those initials, NCMEC, sites will come up in it. They can do reporting on there.
you talked about contacting the FBI. How does one
FBI.
contact the FBI?
I would imagine to go online, the FBI, and they have a reporting site. Just like we do as a sheriff's office,
I
you can
thought
make
you
a
just
report online.
Pick up your phone, you don't even dial, and you just start talking.
I think you just call
listening.
you dial FBI.
Hey, are you listening right now?
My Alexa listens.
Yeah. And they're sending the data there. So that's a few ways you could report.
Education and awareness is also very important from parent to kids. Prevention is big. Crime prevention.
So if you have, you can just imagine a scenario where a child doesn't think they've done anything wrong. So there's no need for psychologist or anything, because they don't know that they're not supposed to do certain things.
They don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they
Right.
don't know.
And the world has changed drastically, as Fichtemaier said when he started in the business. Things were very different. You guys were talking earlier about Discord, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Oh, you listen to our show.
I love Disc. We call it Disc, by the way. No one calls it Discord.
I don't call it anything.
I'm dating myself.
I don't call it anything.
I have an 11-year-old, and it annoys me to watch him on YouTube watching people play video games, and I can't
saw that
understand
for the
why
first time
they-
last weekend. Kids watching other kids play games.
I don't
just
get
play
it,
the game
but-
yourself.
There's
Right?
tutorials. Like we had a major release. So fall season for video games is your major release season. We had a major first-person shooter release called Borderlands 3. Not being paid by anybody to talk about video games. But this major release, there's tutorials. There's different builds. You have 4 different classes of character. Which character do I pick? Why would I pick them? Then there's 50 skill points to distribute. How would I make a build? So that's billions. It's like Domino's Pizza. They have billions of pizzas.
Do they have anything like that for the gym? I can. No, I get it. I totally get it.
So we need the tutorials. We need to see
right.
find a new gun. How does this
but
work with this build? Watch a video.
But the concern in education from a law enforcement perspective, and even as a parent, is I'm watching my 11-year-old play this, and I'm kind of jaded being in the field. But my concern is, Fichtemaier was saying earlier, well, who else is in this? If I was a predator of sorts, where would I look for my victims? Right? It would be the adults that are on those sites, kind of preying on kids who are willingly coming to these sites to learn how to find the guns and the my point of reference is Contra from from the 90s.
But you know about the Konami code, right?
No. Up, up, down, left, right,
yes,
left. Is that what that was?
That's the Konami code. So you would have had to find out about that through some dark web activity.
That's correct.
So even back then, it's a frame of reference for you guys.
Right.
Is there ever going to be a way to where, obviously I think big data is probably overreaching its bounds at this point anyways, but is there ever going to be a way to prevent this on the app side where they can actually tell that it's an adult or
for every original there's a copy, there's a counterfeit. So for every legitimate business on the internet there's some loophole. That's how criminal activity, that's the nature of the business, right? It's
nothing's ever going to work out.
I don't think so, because not one of
education's
my
key.
accounts that I have am I an adult. So
and there's no way to verify it. Like, send us your report
they
card,
are getting
right?
better. So I've had when I go teach at the school with the kids, I tell them, listen, I have a fake Facebook account that I've had since I was an SRO in the schools. I want to say since 2011. I have.
And you've been a 12-year-old since 2011.
I have been a teenager in high school since 2011, and I still have 400 some friends. I don't even use this except for to do research.
They can have tutoring to help you pass those tests.
Well, I like staying in school though; it's much easier.
It's kind of like Twilight, where they're vampire. They just never grow old, right?
But I flat out tell them, listen, I've never posted a picture. I've never, of myself posted a picture. I've never really. Once in a while, I'll take it, and I'm logged on it right now on my work phone. I'll do a check-in or something like that. I tell them I am sitting here on this Facebook page to watch you guys. I have solved crimes through this Facebook page. I do my research through this Facebook page. At one point, I wasn't even friendly requesting kids that I didn't have 50 friends in common, and I would always get accepted. So I've always been a kid on my accounts, and Facebook's gotten better to where now you have to, if you're doing that, you have to set up a couple things to prove it. And it's gotten harder, but if I had a case with Discord, I would instantly become a member of Discord.
And that being said, we're out of time. Catch you next hour. Leo Cannyn.